guys, it's Adia, Erin, and Katie, and we are 29 and chronically online. Before we get into this episode, we just wanted to remind you to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. We also have an Instagram at 29 and .co and a TikTok at 29 and co. And guess what? We have a YouTube, where you can watch all of our videos. So we love you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Now let's get to the good stuff.
Hello, gentle listeners. Welcome back to the 29 and Chronically Online podcast. Today, I can't keep it up, I don't think. I can't keep it up.
You didn't even give me a chance to talk.
Tell us what we're talking about today, Erin.
Today, well, first, you will notice that there's only two of us here, when usually there's three. Adia got her full hand tattooed and she's out of commission. So you are stuck with us again. But today, gentle listeners, we will be talking about the world of Bridgerton.
Welcome to the Bridgerton episode, everyone.
Okay, now I think we could stop with the accents.
It's like too much. Mine started turning Cockney. It's
like, I know. I was like, I'm talking like I'm in South London and like not posh. So I was like, okay, let me stop.
You know, it's a harder accent than we give them credit for. So
it is. And I feel like usually if I'm just talking normally and not being recorded, it's fine.
It's a little different.
But like, other than that, like with the cameras on, the lights on, you staring at me like this, I'm like, I don't have it. I don't have it in me. But anyway, guys, we are talking about Bridgerton. It is my current hyperfixation because I was like, I've always loved the shows. And as you know, season 3 was coming out, I was like, I want to read the book before I watch the show. So obviously I started reading the books, but then Colin and Penelope's book is book 4. So I had to get through book 1 through 4. And that's when and then after that it was just a whirlwind and I was eating good with these books.
I mean, once you make it 4 books in, it's kind of like, why not just finish the rest? Although I didn't, so we'll get there. I have since read them all.
Books in, and then you were like, and I'm done. And then I was like, read though. Yeah. Now we're done.
Exactly. And it's all good.
But this is actually going to be a 2-parter, so stay tuned, y'all. Because there's just so much like lore in the Bridgerton world, and we definitely couldn't make this just one episode. Otherwise, we'd be here for 3 hours. And no one would listen to a 3-hour podcast. Like I wouldn't even listen to our own 3-hour podcast. Like that's just
I mean, it's 8 books. What are you going to do? I mean, you can't consolidate but so much. And it's already 2 full seasons. We're on the cusp of the 3rd. So it's like there is just so much going on and it's just all happening. It's all happening for us right now. I would love to start with some general thoughts on Bridgerton as a whole. So Bridgerton is a Shondaland production, which we love. And I was thinking, you know, a lot of people are worried that the show's going to get canceled before their favorite book gets covered. You know, a lot of people, I don't think they liked Eloise's book, but they like what they're doing with her character in the show. There's other books like, you know, Francesca. People love Gregory's book. So people are worried it's going to get canceled. But I am just holding out hope that as a Shondaland production, just generally, I mean, Grey's Anatomy, they are running it into the ground.
Literally. Like, that's like season 20 something. Like, I have faith that they could do at least 8 seasons.
Exactly. And I don't need it to be what it is right now, because at the end, spoiler of season 3, hopefully Lady Whistledown will be unmasked. So it's like, we don't need all these intricate, like, you know, other backstories.
Like, I think they could do like start Eloise's love story in season 3 too as well. I think they're definitely starting Francesca's love story
for sure
season 3, and we can just like get that moving and like crossover. But who needs a season as the lead? Our King Benedict.
Yes.
He needs like we've been waiting. The world has been waiting for a Benedict love story, and he just stays like as the fun second oldest brother in the background. But we're waiting. And
I mean,
so
since season 1, as soon as that first episode dropped, people were like, when is Benedict's season?
Yeah.
And then Shonda had to play us and say, we're going to do them out of order. Like, we don't have to do it the way the books are written. It's like, you don't, but like, you should. Like,
you don't, but you should. Because it like, I mean, Julia Quinn, the author, like she wrote it in a certain way. Like, even though sometimes like some of them get kind of like, it's already happened and it'll talk about it, but it's like for the most part it's like pretty in order of like who gets married, except for Francesca's like first marriage is before, but then like her second marriage is like there.
And I do want to commend, I mean, Julia Quinn, there's a lot of questionable things going on there. However,
100%.
I appreciate it's campy, but she named them all in alphabetical order, which if you're listening to this, you know that already, and that's great. But like it really helps keep it together when you're reading, because you're like, oh, I remember, you know, like versus if they just had random names, I would be like, who again? Like,
for sure. If they were like,
I forget, then because they're not in the
I literally had to write like the spouse name next to each of
certain
the Bridgerton
ones.
Kids. Like I was like, I will forget.
No, okay. I know we're jumping ahead, but like literally when I was reading Gregory's book, I was like, who did Hyacinth marry again? What was his name?
No, literally.
Like,
it was like,
I'm so sorry. Like to that man,
first because we were thinking Gregory.
Well, exactly.
But then I was like, oh wait, Gareth?
It's not. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I really feel like Shonda can go the distance. I mean, Netflix is known for canceling shows, but I really just feel like we can do this. We can make this happen.
There's like the Bridgerton fans, like there's a whole army behind them, and they like they're going on their press tours, they're like seeing people show up, even like the random like Bridgerton tea or Bridgerton dance or like whatever that they did like mid-year that wasn't even by a season releasing. Like people were into that, so they can keep it going.
Yes, we just have fingers crossed that they're not going to keep casting white people, because they're going to lose a lot of their audience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they started it like not the books, obviously not the books. Well, but the show.
The books do not exist for description the books, for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Simone like when I'm thinking of Kate. Anyway, but the show, they were like, oh, this is like diversity. They're taking it like Queen Charlotte, she's Black. They have, you know, all these people. So I think they should keep that up. Like I understand we're getting like Colin 2 white leads right now. And they already potentially already had those families like set done. And we've already seen Philip, so like they're gonna keep that. But the rest who are keeping in hiding, bring them out.
Exactly. That's what I meant, I guess, because at this point, like, you can't really recast Philip. I mean, you could, and I'd be open to it, but
didn't they do that in like Harry Potter with like one of the characters, like he was white and then I can't remember, but there was like something that like a character was recast when he got to be like a bigger character, and then I was like,
a big difference.
That's a Black person, not but
they were not introduced that way. That's okay.
Oh well, we love diversity, so
exactly,
it makes sense. But yeah, so season 3 is coming out in May. Thank God, because I've been waiting. But like we heard inklings on the internet, and they said that they were going to start filming season 4 in June, but it was not going to come out until 2027.
Yeah, if they keep doing that, they will lose people, because we cannot go. I mean, yes, it's like a very highly produced show. Like they have a lot. I'm sure it's expensive. I'm sure, but like when you really boil it down, it's like, what really are we doing? Like, what really is taking this long? You know what I mean? It's not the editing. It's not the like the material's generally there. So the writing is like tweaking, and I mean, obviously adapting it for the screen, for an actual script. But yeah, why in theory is this about to I mean, it took so long between season 2 and season 3 already, and it's like that wasn't even because of the writer's strike. It wasn't even, I don't even think COVID related necessarily. I mean,
no, I don't
maybe
think
a little
so.
bit with filming, but not much.
Well, because they released season 1 was like released in December, then season
Christmas
2
Day.
season 2 released the next December. Queen Charlotte released the next December,
like,
and then
spring, yeah.
And then like, why
Now
are
we're just
we now?
here.
It's May, and we're
Yeah.
like, we're getting season 3. Weird.
It's
Um,
wild. Yeah. And I can't live like that. If there's no way they could keep that up and get as far as, I'm sure they want to milk it. Why not?
absolutely.
I
But
don't know.
I think, yeah,
That
they
was
should just
concerning to me when I saw that tweet earlier. That's why I was like, we got to talk about
same.
it, because if
Yeah.
they do 3 years between each season, there's just, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
no point.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point.
Yeah. And I think, like, as you were saying, yeah, like people will fall off. Like,
Yeah.
currently I'm like, it's my hyperfixation. I'm ready. And like, I was excited for, December, thinking that it
Yeah.
would be released. And now I'm just like, oh, where is it? But if I get
Mhm.
tired of waiting, like, it
Well, and
will,
then,
like,
yeah, now they're doing the part 1, part 2. It's like either do a weekly release or
that.
drop it all at once. Like, I would be more respectful of a weekly release, because Amazon's been doing that. And I do think it
Mm-hmm.
keeps up the viewership, right? Like, you want people to
Well,
keep coming back.
some shows are like, I mean, the K-dramas that like Netflix releases,
Mm-hmm.
they're weekly releases too.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that, and
This
it's
is
like
the
you're only
one.
releasing 8 episodes. So
Yes, yeah.
like,
It's not a 22 episode season. We're not doing
exactly.
11 eps
So
and 11 eps. Like,
exactly. So
yeah.
like 4 and 4 seems crazy, and that's just like
Yeah.
to make your fans wait for what reason? Like, I get the
Exactly.
suspense, like, but it's like almost a month in between. Like, it's like
Well,
May 16th and then like June 12th or something. Like,
it's already suspenseful because, like you said, we all thought December, and now we're already coming
exactly.
to May and June. So, like,
And now
what
they're doing
is
more. Yeah.
happening? So they're just
Oh
playing as
my
that's it. That's all because that was kind of my thought. Like, I mean, I watched season 2. Was it season 2? I don't remember. I read the first 5 books in 2022. Clear. I mean, I
Mhm.
read them back to back to back. It's like clearly I was in that mode, and then
I
until
think, yeah,
you
you had
started
like
getting me
finished
back
season
into
2,
it.
and then you were like, okay, read the
Something,
books.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's gonna be tons of people out there like that like
Mhm.
I don't even know if I would watch season 3 if you weren't coming like and giving me
Me
all
every
the
single every single
no, yeah, yeah,
podcast
yeah.
episode we have, I'm like, okay, Bridgerton. I don't know.
Yes.
Like, it's on the one hand, it's like everything. Like, I love like a good period romance. Like, I'm
Yeah.
here for that. I love the juicy stories. I love, the gossip, but also I'm like, I don't love waiting. And I
Mm-hmm.
could like, there are other shows that I could watch, or other like things that I could watch
To
to
fulfill that
fulfill this and not
Regency
need to
situation.
like wait. Yeah. I
Very
guess
true.
only time will tell, like, when
Shonda,
we get these
please.
new. Shonda,
we're,
please, if you're listening, we are
we're
on our
begging.
knees begging, like, please.
There's a lot of things I'm going to be begging for in this episode, and this is the first one.
Please note, first one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I
funny.
I got big one coming. It's probably going to be episode 2. So for all of our listeners,
Stay tuned.
my biggest bag is in episode 2. Oh my
I think I
gosh.
know what your biggest beg is, and
You do
I'm
know what it
I
is.
right there with you.
Do we want to
What
jump in? I
else?
don't remember what was on there.
Oh, sorry. We were just like talking about the accuracy and how like people are super mad online about
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And
I feel like this is important to bring up before we dive into the season and book discussion, because
mhm,
people, when the trailer dropped for season 3, people were borderline livid in the
I
comments about the
know.
historical accuracy of some of these outfits. And it's
People
like,
are like, why does she have a mechanical crane like in her hair? I was like, why is Queen Charlotte black? Like, I
it's
mean,
like,
it's not
right.
like, it's loosely accurate, but like
Yes.
not really. Like, what are we doing, people?
And
I
I just have to say, like, if you're here for the historical accuracy, watch the History Channel. Like, I am a girl who grew up watching Rain, where they literally wore
yeah,
prom dresses on the
rain.
CW.
That brought me
They
back,
wore,
first of all.
no, for
Yeah.
real. I mean, tell me why they're wearing literally like Charlotte Russe dresses, like
Yeah.
on the CW, and calling it like, oh, she's Queen Mary from the
Oh,
whatever time frame. Like, come on.
yeah.
Like, if
Yeah.
we so you're listening right now to a podcast from 2 girls who watched that and are using that as like not a historical basis, but as a love. So
Yeah.
anything that comes out, I do not give a fuck about historical accuracy.
Literally. I'm like,
Wear
in
whatever you
the
want to wear. Put a
first of all,
crown on the
where, and
bitch.
it's
I
like
don't care.
basically, it's like almost like the same. It's not, I mean, it's not
Similar
like
vibe.
on the nose, but it's like they're wearing those like high, like what is that
Yes,
called?
the
The
like the
dresses that are like
empire
high. Yes,
waistline.
the empire waist, high empire waist down. They're wearing
Yeah.
gloves. They're, doing whatever. So it's like, can we get it together, please? Like
Yeah, and
there's
there's tons of discussion about like ruining reputations when they're like, so it's like things are
mm-hmm,
carrying over,
mm-hmm,
things are
mm-hmm.
semi
She's only like Julia Quinn wasn't born in the
no.
back in the day. So like she can only do so much with, her writing and her knowledge and stuff. So
Exactly.
too
I do
much.
not care about historical accuracy. So if that's
I
what you're here
know.
for, watch a different show,
The wrong
but
show for you to watch for sure.
and wrong podcast to listen to because we will not be
Yeah.
critiquing that in any any
No, like
fashion.
they're dancing to like pop songs of today done like by an
Yes.
orchestra. So it's like,
Yes.
I don't care. Like, let's just have
What are we
fun and
talking
watch
about?
this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I love that you brought that up because like there are just some bops on that playlist. There are just some I
Absolutely.
can't wait to see what we get next.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
So like was it Thank You Next that played in one of them? Iconic.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's all
Absolutely.
I need for my historical romance.
I
I
want a little
that's
pop
it.
in my historical romance.
Exactly, exactly. Before we jump in and start talking about season one, season two, the, details of some of these books and why we like or dislike them, we are going to be providing our rankings of all 8 stories and what some of our faves were and which ones we hated. Do you want to go first, Erin? I feel like I gotta
Um,
think for a second. I should have written it down, but it's kind of
I
like,
have it written. I have it
oh,
noted.
okay. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so starting with where should I start? Should I start at the bottom of the list? I'll start at the bottom of the
Maybe,
list. My
maybe.
least favorite, Eloise.
I feel like that
I'm
sometimes.
sorry, girl. It was just like not giving what I wanted it to give. Like Eloise is such like a powerful, independent, like feminist woman. And then like in her book, she is like now forced to be this, not that she likes the kids, she eventually likes Philip, but like she's forced to be just like this subservient mother who just like doesn't have really any say in anything. And she's like, it just totally flipped the script of she like ran away to just go see a man because her brother and best friend got married. Like, what? So that is my number 8. My number 7 is Daphne and Simon. I, at the beginning, before reading all the rest of the books, I was like, okay, I'm like, I mean, Daphne was kind of annoying, and I just
Yeah.
thought of
Oh,
as the
Bridget
Duke.
Page.
Yes, I just
Yeah.
thought of him as the Duke. And so I was like, okay, this is fine. Like, I can do this. But then hearing again the rest of the stories, I was like, there's that. My number 6,
Yeah.
Colin and Penelope. Okay.
Ooh.
So this one was higher on the ranking, and I think I'll like the TV show more than
Yeah.
the book. And that's I think why at first it was so like up there on the ranking, but
Yeah.
we move on. The next number, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Four,
4 and 5
yeah.
are tied for me. Currently, it's Benedict and Anthony tied.
Wow. I'm
So
surprised
I
to
was,
hear them both that low from you.
well, like they were high, and then I read
Yeah.
book 6, 7, and 8, and I was like, anyway. So now let's
Things get
go
so much
to
better.
exactly. Now let's go to the top 3. So starting at number
Yeah.
3, we have our Mr. Simp, Gregory. Starting at number 2, or going at number 2, we have our Queen Francesca. And number 1, we have my girl Hyacinth. I loved
Wow.
it.
I'm shocked. I'm
shocked and not at all.
Oh my God.
But
That's
yeah.
that's so wild. Okay, let's see. So my number 8 is also Eloise. Similar situation as what you just laid out for us. Like, and whatever, we'll get there. It's a similar situation. My 7 is See, I'm flip-flopping between your 6 and 7, which is Colin and Penelope and Daphne and the Duke. Like, I'm flip-flopping because part of me is like, do I dislike Colin and Penelope more? I think I do, but I think I hate Daphne's character arc and what they did to with children. So I do think I'm probably going to have to agree with you with Daphne and Simon being number 7, unfortunately. Like, but the thing is, I've been telling people this because I've been obviously talking about Bridgerton now again. Really, her book is more like a necessary evil. You have to read it to
you have to read it to get through. Yeah,
exactly. And there's a reason Julia made her number 1. She could have made her the 4th book, but she didn't. And there's a reason for that. And that's, it's a necessary evil is what I'll leave it at. So that puts Penelope and Colin at 6. I'm hopeful that I'll like it more as for a season, but I'm doubtful. Every time I watch the trailer, I'm just looking at Francesca and I'm looking for Michael and John. So
for sure,
not hopeful that I'm gonna like their book or their season. So my number 5 is gonna be controversial for you, Erin. It's Hyacinth and Garrett. I was so bored about the jewels.
I loved it. I was like, this is a mystery anyway.
Yeah, I just it wasn't for me, and that's okay. That's why there's 8 books.
Exactly. Like, not everyone has to have the same faves.
Exactly. I'm gonna put Anthony at number 4. Yeah, that feels good to me. I'm gonna put. So the thing is, I think I'm putting Gregory 3. It's a toss-up between him and Benedict. I think Benedict's going to, he's edging him out a little just because it's been so long since I read Benedict's book. But I remember when I first read them in 2022, he was like my favorite of the 5 books. So I was like, do I put Gregory above him just because he was a more recent addition? Did I actually like Gregory more than Benedict? I can't say that I did because I read them so far apart. But I love a lover boy, and Gregory is a simp through the whole book.
I loved it.
So he will be my number 3, and Benedict will be my number 2. And that is also controversial because it is just a Cinderella retelling.
Yeah.
But who cares? Not me. And that puts my girl Francesca at number 1, which is so funny that book 6 and book 7 are the 2 that are at the top of the list for us.
It's
had to make
funny.
It far into this season for us to.
It's also like so comical because you stopped at book 5 and you were like, I'm not reading another second of this. And then I was like, okay, but like get back into it. And then you're like, okay, now she's number 1.
Yeah, now she jumped right on up there. We'll talk more about her book, but I just felt like there was so much I liked about it. I mean, obviously some questionable things, but there's questionable things in all of these.
There are questionable things in 1 through 8. Like
so you just have to mentally overlook it and just call it a day. Like we're just out here to vibe. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, so people know where we generally stand. We jump right on into Simon and Daphne season 1, baby.
Let's do it. We both hate them. We don't hate the Duke in the show, but
my king.
We hate everything else about it. It just seemed like in the book, they made her seem like she was like this ugly, like unlovable, like girl, like Daphne. And then like in the show, they were like, she's the diamond of the season. She's like the most beautiful. Every man is like, what? But like, also she needed Simon's help to get like a prospect. Anyway,
that was a choice. So, it's like, I'm so ugly, I need help. But it is kind of interesting, and they do this in every freaking book. The chestnut brown Bridgerton hair, like, come on. It's like,
I'm done.
What is her problem? Yeah, I will definitely second. Like, the thing that we have to acknowledge about season 1 is it kicked off this whole thing. Neither of us would have read these books if it wasn't for that
no,
season.
Like the show did get me hooked. Like, let's not get it twisted.
We may have
first time watching it, I binged it. One Saturday.
I was up till 3 a.m. I watched it Christmas night when it came. I mean, it just popped up on my Netflix, and I was like, I'll see one episode, and then I literally watched it until 4 a.m. and basically finished the first season.
Exactly.
And I was vibing. I mean, the thing is, Bridgerton Page carries major in season 1 because you don't have much else to go on. Anthony's got those huge ass sideburns.
They make all the Bridgerton men the older ones look
Questionable.
busted.
Except for Benedict, but he always has an
True.
asterisk.
Benedict just like so far in the back though, so you like
Yeah,
don't
right.
even see him.
Exactly.
And then he has that one painter like storyline, and then he's like not seen ever again.
Exactly. So Reggie really did that for season 1 for us. And I was having flashbacks while I was like kind of brainstorming and like reflecting for this episode. The wrestling episode where he is coaching that other man and is please
Stop. I need to take a moment.
I remember sweating. I was like, it's just
whenever they did the like
it's not
boxing,
form. It was like a
whenever they did the boxing moment.
Yes.
Thank you, Shonda, for that.
Yes. That one, that was the moment. That was the crown of that season for me. I mean, and the thing about Shonda, throughout all of this and all of her prior seasons, she can write romantic tension. Like I think about Scandal with Kerry Washington and Mr. President.
We can't even get into that because
we really
I can go on for days.
Yes, but like I'm reflecting and I'm like, dang, romantic tension like is her genre. So like the first couple episodes where they're kind of fake dating or whatever, it's like that tension is still there. And I am like, I'm a sucker for romantic tension. Like,
same, yeah.
Once they got together, it got a little boring. That's kind of how it goes most of the time. Like.
Yeah, no, it definitely like all of those books, I was like, oh yes, like I'm eating good with this like romantic tension. Yeah. And then like they get together and I'm like, womp womp.
Well, especially because like in their era, it's like marriage is marriage, baby. Like
they're like, okay, we're getting married in a week. Let's get the like fast license from the whoever. Yes. And I was like, okay.
It's worse for Simon and Daphne because they're married for so long too. Like at least some of these, like I feel like I remember Collins being like closer to like 70% maybe of the book. Like we'd made it like 60 or 70% before they got married. But Daphne and Simon felt so early on in the book. In the show, it was kind of mid-season, I think. But in the book, I just remember it being kind of early, maybe 40 or 50% through. And I'm like, I don't want to see what you guys got going on. That's so ridiculous.
I only want tension, no love.
I mean, I'm a fake dating girl. Like that's one of my
girl, me too.
tropes. So like the fake dating, I love when it turns real. I mean, I love when it's real for the whole, duration too. But like, if you're gonna fake date, don't do it for 30% of the book. That's fake. That's fake as fuck. Like
that's fake.
It's not fake dating. It's a fake trope. Their season, you can't recreate it. And
no,
I don't know if you agree, but I'm not mad that Regé left after season 1.
I at first was, because I was like, he's such a hot man and I want him like in my Bridgerton moments. But like after all the discourse that's been happening about like bring him back, like blah blah blah, or like whatever. I mean, in the books, like Daphne and the Duke like show up for a party every once in a while, or they'll like be talked about, but they're not in the thing, so it makes sense.
That's what I was thinking. And I think he got out early enough. Like I know a lot of the girls are like still kind of typecasting him. I know that's what he was worried about because this happens pretty often. Dan Stevens did the same thing in Downton Abbey. He left after season like 3 or 4 because he didn't want to be typecast. But when you kind of do it too abruptly, people still typecast you a little bit because they're mad. But I think he did leave early enough on because if they keep it going, really, it
if
won't
he was
matter
in season 2, it would have just been.
We would be dragging it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think as more seasons come out, we're going to miss him less and less. And that's okay because like you said, in the book, I mean, they're mentioned once or twice. They throw a ball once or twice, once probably. I think it's just in Gregory's season, in Gregory's book.
No, their ball is the one that like Penelope and Colin expose Lady Whistledown at, but that could be anybody.
It could
make it Lady D and move on.
Exactly. It could be anybody's ball. And if they really, really, I mean, they don't really need to keep it book accurate because that's the whole point. They said they might change some stuff up, but if you really wanted to, I mean, recast the man, call it a day. Like nobody's going to fault you for having someone else in it for a minute max,
for like the back of his head or something. Like come on.
Exactly.
Because again, it's like mostly Daphne, since she's the Bridgerton in this situation, so she'll like show up and be like, oh, I'm need to help my mother, need to help my sisters, blah blah blah. He's just like, okay dear, go ahead, like I'll be over here. So
exactly. Also, since you were kind of talking about Daphne being the Bridgerton of the family and whatnot, we just have to talk about the bangs for a second. The little
the little like
bangs.
spider like bangs that it's just too much.
I know. I couldn't decide if I loved or hated them. Like, I didn't love them, but like she's so beautiful that I'm like, it doesn't necessarily take away from her beauty. But then like
it like
randomly it would bother
some,
me more. Yes.
it worked for some, and then some it did not. And I was like, let's go back to like her in that white outfit when she's like making the Duke jealous and talking to the prince in the show. I was like, yes, phenomenal. Yeah.
I think it was in those moments at home when they're like waiting for callers. They're almost like flat and straight versus like at that ball with the white dress, it's like they're curled. It's like they look a little more intentional. Yeah, definitely. I just know that was like huge. People were like, get these tiny ass bangs off my screen. And it's like,
and I'm like, fair, but also like it's the era.
That might be the historical accuracy you guys are looking for here.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, there are a whole bunch of things we could talk about for Simon and Daphne, but
do we have to talk about the child thing real quick? Just like a little, like, I don't want to dive too deep, but I just feel like they, you know, especially when season 1 came out, they harped so much on like, we might not go in order, we might change from the book. So like, why was Daphne sexually assaulting her husband left in? Why did we do that? We could have done anything else. We still could have given them like some sort of big fight. Like it didn't have to be that, you know, it just didn't. So I don't know. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall to like hear about like why
the
that
writers
choice.
and Shonda like decided to keep that in.
Because out of everything, that was the most random. Because the duel was not in the book, was it? Or I can't remember.
The duel was in the book.
Okay, because that's fine. Like violence, sure, whatever. But
yeah, like a duel, you know, is gonna happen here and there, I guess. Like keep that little
it's historically accurate.
It's historically accurate. Keep that little bit in there, but in the rest, like books 2 through 8, like the girlies know or the girlies ask. So it's just like, so I don't know. Like
it's weird.
It's weird. And to her, didn't she ask like one of her maids or like her lady's maid or something? Yes. Or is that just, I think that was definitely in the show. I couldn't remember if it was in the book.
And I think I like, that's what, it's so wild. Like, I don't know why they made that whole decision, because basically after the first book, everybody knows what to do. Like everybody's like, okay, we know what's going on. So like, why did like, I know she's meant to be like naive. She's meant, because like that's the whole thing. Like she's pure, she hasn't been ruined, her reputation, whatever. But like for her mom, even on like, because I know Violet in the show sat her down and was like, your wedding night, blah blah blah, but like didn't end up saying anything. And it's like, that is so irresponsible. And I like, if we're gonna include all of this explicit activity, it's kind of wild of the writers to have like kept in the naivety to that extent. Like I don't know. It was just like,
I mean, they changed,
really everybody knows what's going on. All the other girls are basically virgins too, except for Francesca. And it's like, nobody is out here doing questionable things like that. Everybody else knows exactly what to do. Like, why did we have to pretend for Daphne that she, like, whatever, that nobody,
it's just like, it's making her like look stupid. Like, and then also because she does find out like what like it is and what needs to happen to conceive a baby. And so she does that out of like anger and like kind of like not hatred, but hatred, like low-key. And you're just, and she has
a reason to be upset. He did lie to her, generally
absolutely
speaking.
Then like stay in the like Duchess suite. Don't like
exactly.
It was crazy.
It really was. That was shocking. I don't know why they left that in. I mean, just because the whole thing of it, it's wild. Wild. Oh my God. And sorry, I'm like, so much more is coming back to me. Simon's stutter, like that whole thing.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I appreciate
it literally left
though, because it brought Lady Danbury in for us in the show.
Yes. It made us like know who Lady D was, and then like the whole like more about his father and his relationship, like that was more in the books than it was in the show. And just I should have written down like all these things. context
it
for the
gave more
first season,
to
and
him
I'm glad I
too.
watched the season without
Yeah.
having read the book.
Yeah. Well, because in the book there was definitely still some daddy issues there, but I feel like they were just it was so different in the show, like in a good way. Like I like that he
Yeah.
had somebody to help him work through it, because I feel like I remember in the book it was just very much like he moved on and called it a day. Like, but Lady Danbury in the show is like there to guide him. And
Yeah.
so season 2, book
Yes.
2, Kate and Anthony. Let's dive in. I think I know where you're gonna start, and I probably am gonna agree.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
My qualm with the show is that they made like Anthony court Edwina, and like they made it to the altar, when in the book like they barely were courting, and it's like they weren't engaged at all. They weren't at the altar. Like, why did we have to bring Edwina through that and have that? Like, I get the drama, like I get a Shondaland drama, like I understand. But I was like, it was not needed. There were other things that we could have been dramatic about. Like, I mean, Anthony married Kate because, spoiler alert, they were found in like a compromising position in the garden when he was like sucking the bee, venom out of her collarbone. But so he wasn't like in love with her at that moment, but we could have just done like, oh, like he's not in love with her, and then seen him falling in love with her. Like he still could have been like done his like I burn for you like moment, like, but when after they were married and them being like, it just kind of like, while I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is so much better, because I didn't have to see like Edwin is hurt. Like, for when I was watching the show, like at first I was like, okay, I know like Kate and Anthony are like end game, but I was like, I am rooting for Edwina. Like, I don't want to see this girl hurt, and like, why are we doing this? But
that was definitely my issue as well. Like, I remember even watching season 2, because it was after season 2 that I started reading the books. I remember watching it and thinking, like, why are they doing this to this poor girl? And then I read the book and I was like, wait, they didn't do this in the book. Like,
they didn't.
What?
They just, Shonda was just like, okay, we're gonna be messy. And I was like, I get it, but also.
And they could have done it in so many different ways, because like you said, in the book, they were engaged or anything before Kate and Anthony are caught. I mean, you could have still had Edwina and Anthony get engaged, but to take her all the way to that altar.
Literally. Like, she's like, I found, like, I'm going to be the Viscountess. Like, I'm here. I'm going to be a part of this family, blah, blah, blah. That was just unnecessary.
So wrong of them, especially because I feel like that made it worse that Anthony and Kate got together. Like, I still love them, and in the show especially, because like, they do have that banter, but it makes it seem so much worse, because it's like, you literally ruined your own sister's wedding.
Your own sister's life.
Yeah. Right. Her whole life.
Not even wedding, her life.
You're right. You're
like,
so
she was ready to get married and be the Viscountess, like, with him. And it was just like not needed.
Really wasn't. They could
it
have
took
been
me a long
engaged.
time. It took me a long time to be like Team Kate, even though I love Simone. Like, this is nothing on her. This is just like the character in the show. Like, it was, I don't know.
The character arc is wild. And that's why I really hope we continue to get them, because people are really upset that Kate and Anthony aren't getting much screen time, but it's like, it isn't their season anymore. Like, and yes, I know their screen time was overshadowed in season 2, I feel like, a little bit, because so much happened with the Featheringtons in season 2, but you can only ask for so much. But I'm really hoping that there is more than what's in the books for them, because I mean, he is the Viscount, he is the head of the household.
I think
so
Jonathan Bailey, thank God for him, he will stay around, but like, I don't know. I don't think he'll be like as big.
Yeah, and that's okay. I don't need them to be leads again. Like, I mean, I'm sad that they could have had more in season 2, but I don't need them to be leads, but I do need to see more than what was in the books from them, I think, because that will make up for that a little bit. And I'm hoping that's what they were aiming for. TBD.
TBD. I agree, because like I like them, but it's like I was not one of the people who was like, I need more of like Kate and Anthony like in season 2. I thought we got a good amount of them, and I was like, I mean, the Lady Whistledown like is that whole storyline is a big part of like the first 4 books. So it's like that, of course, like that will
be a part.
Yeah. And I mean, they didn't really like start trying to unmask who Lady Whistledown was like until like book 3 or something, or book really, I think book
4,
it might have been
Benedict,
like
so
the end of book 3 and then book 4.
And I think that's the whole thing too. Like they created, I mean, the whole first season, a lot of people said it's like Regency Gossip Girl. So like they had to make it more in the show than it was in the books. They had to play
be
into
there,
it.
and it makes it like more interesting because if it's just like you're like, oh, like what? Who is this? Okay, moving on. She's saying gossip, but obviously us as watchers will, or us as viewers will want to know like who she is. So it like makes sense of like them, you know,
why they would take it further,
even in, you know, season 1, trying to figure out who it is and Eloise like going about. So
I mean, there's just been so much discourse. Like, so many people were upset that Violet was presenting Francesca to the Queen in the trailer, and it's just like she is their literal mother. Like, yes, you are like Kate's the new Viscountess, but she's the Dowager Viscountess. Like, she's still alive. She's
like
able
Violet
to present
is here
them,
for all of her kids. Like, I don't.
So
and I'm
I
sure
felt like that was
like
so cute still. Like I love Kate. I don't need her to introduce Francesca to the Queen. I really don't. It's not a make or break moment for me.
In the books, the Queen is like not existent.
No,
so
no,
like
no. Yeah, let's start there.
Let's start there. This is just like Shonda's imagination. Like, let's not.
Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted. We love Queen Charlotte in the shows. She's not in the books, basically. So it's like, why are we trying to do this? But I like that like Violet is in her kid's business and like the whole time, and that she's still doing that. And like maybe we just see her, you know, presenting Francesca to the Queen, but like maybe before they have a chitty chat between her and Kate and being like, Kate's like, you're their mother, like obviously like you present blah blah blah. So
especially because I do feel like Kate in season 2, because obviously we don't see much in the books of like the familial relationships, but in season 2 I just felt like she was so respectful. Like she really, that's why they took her all the way to the altar, because Kate felt so bad. So it's like I could see them adding in definitely like some sort of conversation for like respect towards like Violet, because definitely they've presented her in such a light that like she will do everything properly, but still like for the family, like what is best for the family.
She is here for her kids. So
thoughts on her being like basically a spinster at 26 in the show?
Oh, Violet?
No, Kate, when they introduce her, she's like, I'm 6 and 20. I'm not on the market. It's like 26.
But they're like, you're going to be on the market. Like, come on.
Well,
it's just, I mean, they're like,
they
you're a
allude to her
spinster
like
at 23.
out.
Like, I don't know.
This
like
is true. This is true. That's a whole nother thing that the age gaps in these books, I mean, they're not like they're not terrible, but it's like we consistently have like 19, 20, 21-year-old girls marrying 30-year-old, 31-year-old
and
men.
That's the historical accuracy.
You're so right.
Like, but I get it. Like, ew, like in looking from it in today's eyes, I'm like, disgusting. Like, can we please? But like, if we're looking at historical accuracy, like that's the one.
That was it. Yeah.
If she was 20, she was like
by 20.
Like, so
that's why in Pride and Prejudice, when she's like, I'm 27, I'm a burden to my parents, like that's the one.
Yeah, me too, girl.
That's where it came from.
Exactly. So
oh my god. Yeah, I saw a gif of that today where it was like, I'm 6 and 20 or whatever, and it was just like, not her being called a spinster in season 2.
I know.
Oh, it's just so funny, so wild. I don't know if I have the only other thing is like the bee thing. I love that they're carrying like the bee imagery from season 2, because it drops off after book 2. But
tell me wee when I was reading the books, like I don't know, they were being like, I know Anthony saw his like dad like get stung by the bee or like whatever. But they were in the book, they were being like so dodgy about the bee. I was like, did he die a different way? Like, halfway through the book, I was like, maybe. And I
Maybe
was like,
I'm
no,
misreading
this. I was like,
something.
maybe. And then I was like, no, this is like how it is. But it was just
I
like,
didn't remember getting anything different than that.
it
But
was
also,
it was just like Anthony being like, I can't talk about the bee, but and maybe like he
oh,
like since he was so young, he like
so
couldn't talk about
traumatized. Yeah.
something and he just like pointed it to a bee and like I don't know. It
Yeah.
was Erin being Delulu trying to think deeper into like certain meanings. But I was like, oh, this could be fun and juicy, but
Yeah. He was
no,
actually, no, I'm
it,
kidding.
like he drank something and like
Yeah.
yeah, so
Maybe there was something questionable, but I think that maybe had a little bit more to do with, I feel like, so some of the books talk about illness in a weird way, and I think
mhm.
it's like her trying to say like they don't truly understand like certain
Yeah, I
diseases and
mean,
stuff. So I
it's
feel
back
like the bee
like
sting might just be confusing, like in theory for the characters, like
honestly, like
a bee
now that
allergy, who would
we have
suspect,
our
you know?
we have our foil hats on. I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
it could have been a bee sting, but like, what if he like already was like sick with something and like died of like
Well,
a heart
this is
attack or like
true.
died of like something else? And that's
True.
where I was going with this.
I was just thinking it probably was a bee sting and they're just kind of stupid and don't realize it because it's the 1800s and like who
Exactly.
would think that bees could kill people because it's so small. They say that in the show.
True.
So
True.
I just feel like maybe in the book it was like alluding to like they don't quite understand the bee
Mm-hmm.
allergy. So they're like
Mm-hmm.
maybe like they
Mm-hmm.
gave it a little, I don't know, juice, something a little different to get you speculating, but because they don't understand
And
modern
I
medicine.
was speculating. No one else was. I was.
I wasn't, that's for sure.
So
Feel like
funny.
I would remember that. Oh my god.
I just remember
Wild.
thinking about that like throughout like a couple of the books. I was like, they were
Okay.
all being like so dodgy about how he died, even though they
That's
were like,
funny.
oh, he died from a bee allergy, but it was like, or a bee sting, but it was just seemed like there was more to be said and that they weren't saying it. And then I was like, wow, book 8, nothing has been said in that sense. So
You're like, all right, I guess that really was how he
I
died.
guess
Sure.
so.
Love you, Edmund.
Love you.
Oh my god.
So
That's wild.
funny.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even think anything about that. I love that you just
Yeah.
like had that little
I was
moment.
gonna, well, you were talking about your bees like earrings before we like got that we started recording, and I was like, oh, need to bring that
Yeah.
up.
That's so fun. I'm obsessed with that actually. Tinfoil hat time, everyone. Was it a bee
Exactly.
sting or was it a duel?
You never know. I don't know where we should go after this. Should
Well,
we?
I was thinking we go to season 3, which I know
Okay.
skips us to book 4, but then we
Mhm.
kind of swap. And I'm sorry to all our listeners, Benedict's just gonna have to be in our second episode.
Like
So
the season, like the TV show, Benedict is gonna, you're gonna have to keep waiting for Benedict.
yeah,
So
you're gonna hear from us about him in 3 years. So don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it.
Yes, so
Yeah,
I like Penelope and Colin the actors, so like Luke
yeah,
Newton and Nicola, I'm
yeah,
there. And they
yeah.
also like their chemistry seems
Real.
like it's real, like Kate and
Yeah.
Anthony chemistry,
Hmm.
Penelope and Colin in the shows chemistry, I'm there for it. And then especially them doing their press tour, like looking like they're
Yeah.
about like they just got engaged, I'm tuned in.
That's what everyone is
um
saying. Like they went to the Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain School of Chemistry for like
they
promo tour.
did. They did. I can't keep talking about it because it was, I will faint because Luke was looking too good and they're like Australia like press tour things.
Okay.
Anyway, so so the book and the show.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
You know, I don't remember much about the book, but I do remember it being not great, not my fave. Obviously, it
Mm-hmm.
was like pretty low
Mm-hmm.
down for me. I don't think I ever, this is gonna sound so wild. I just don't feel like I really liked Penelope that much, or Colin for that matter. Like, even in the
Mm-hmm.
show, I'm not like obsessed with him. I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
dying to hear his back. Like, he doesn't really have that big of a backstory. He's the third son, but
Yeah.
um, I just don't remember feeling like too particularly drawn to either of them. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the book itself, like, because for me, the Lady Whistledown thing, we could take it or leave it. You know, in the show, I see too much of the Featherington. So I feel like that really hindered the Penelope a little bit. But I do appreciate, so the thing I didn't like in Hyacinth was like that there was this whole side quest with the jewels. I did appreciate the Lady Whistledown thing in Penelope and Colin's book because I feel like it was coming to a head. Like Colin could not marry her without knowing that she's Whistledown.
For sure.
So I do appreciate that he was paying enough attention to like follow her carriage and like kind of do those things because it felt natural for the two characters. So I do feel like maybe they aren't my favorites. They're definitely not at the bottom. I mean, there's other people that are further down than them.
Eloise still is there, so
yeah, exactly. But I just didn't feel like there was that much that I was drawn to necessarily.
Yeah, definitely. I did put them at number 5, but it's like, or maybe 6. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
there's so many. I did put them at number 6, but I kind of like liked it in the sense of like he finally noticed her and like kind of like she was right there all along, and like I do love that she has like stayed a Colin simp and now is like
this is true,
this is Bridgerton. But I don't know, I felt like the book, there could have been more meat to it, like they were trying to put so much into it, and it just felt like
all of a sudden they're like getting together in this carriage and it's like, how did we get here? Like
exactly. I was just about to say that.
Like,
they're like here's this, they're like in the carriage and I was like, wait, what? Like where did we go from point A to point B? Like
he becomes a simp like overnight, like all of a sudden after 10 or 15 years of friendship you're like, literally, I have to marry her next week. Literally, like pushing up the marriage license. Like what is that?
These are all weird things I was like, it's just not making sense. The like, also Colin is so like out. He's like traveling the world. He's like being the third son. He doesn't need to like be in the forefront, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it just doesn't seem like Colin, but like, I mean, I'm reading the book and this is what Julia Quinn is like
telling me
Colin is. I think
you're like, I don't believe you.
I don't believe it, girl. I think in the show I'll like it better because we could see the tension starting in season 2. And him being like interested, and then also like her like just Penelope being Penelope. Because
I do feel like he already in season maybe 2 is kind of like looking for her in the ballroom, even though he says to that group of guys he would never court her, blah blah blah. I feel like he's always still looking for her, and
he definitely is always like looking out for her,
you know?
Yeah,
and maybe that was like meant to be implied in the books that like he's always been around, they've always been like seeing it is a whole different thing. So I agree. I think I'm gonna like a little bit more seeing it, even though I'm not necessarily looking forward to their season. Whatever, we'll see what happens.
I mean, we'll see what happens. It was just like, I don't know, it just seemed like so quick. And then I also like, I wasn't liking Penelope in season 1. She just seemed kind of annoying. But then season 2 I was like, okay, like there's a little more depth to her. And then when we like found out she was Whistledown, obviously, like I was like, okay, there's some juice to her. And so I'm ready for this. I'm so glad they got her out of that yellow,
I know. I mean, they did that on purpose, but yeah.
Like it's part of the book, and I'm ready.
We gotta call it. Yeah.
I'm ready, but like I'm ready for her to like finally be like, oh, I'm a bad bee. Like I'm here for this. Like if Colin doesn't want me, Lord Doobly or whatever his name is.
I don't even know, which that's going to be a whole interesting dynamic because that was not in books in any way, shape, or form. This man didn't even exist in any of the books. I read all 8 of them. I don't even recognize the name.
That is one thing that I'm so confused about. And I know we've like texted about this, but like, I don't get how people are like pulling out these random characters and like, that's Lord la la la, that's da da da. And I'm like, where did you get this from? Because I literally like, I'm reading the books currently.
The big one,
like I was.
Yeah, the biggest one, because forget Lord Dublin, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
The biggest one for me that was like the worst moment was all these girls when that Asian man showed up in the trailer, and you and I are like, is this is this a Sterling brother? Is this a
Yeah.
And then everybody in the comments was like, this is Henry Danforth. I'm like, who the fuck
Who
is
is
that? Who
that?
is that? What does that mean?
Like,
and it's like Penelope's like sister's husband, but it's like,
yeah, it's like
how do you
Prudence's
know that?
husband or something. And I was like,
where are you
that's
getting
not
that
in the
intel?
books. Like, where are we getting this from?
Yeah. And I mean,
I'm so
the only
confused.
way, besides the comments, the only way I found out, he did have it in his Instagram bio, but it's like,
yeah.
But are you
Again,
guys
it
really
doesn't
looking like that? Like, I don't understand. It's
like,
so
how would you
random.
even think to look at that? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's
exactly.
I would have to type in like Harry Dankworth or whatever his name is, and then I would see it. But I'm like,
yeah, that
how
was
are we?
wild.
I was
so
that
shook
had
by
me
that.
so confused
I
because I
felt
was
like catfished a little. I was like, you put him in this like teaser for what? He's not a main character. You can't tell me
he's not
he
a
is.
main character. He's
No.
also like, they were like, oh, he's like just like a golden retriever, like himbo. And I was like, okay,
Yeah, right.
but what else are we doing?
Yeah, why is he in this trailer right now?
Like,
or like the teaser?
he got his own little like moment in the teaser. I was like, that's not necessary.
No, I don't even think Prudence got one, did she? I don't remember now because I was too busy thinking.
You're like, who is the fan? Yeah.
yeah. Well, and then the Bridgerton Twitter was playing us all because somebody, put a picture of him and then said, I want to protect, like, put him in my pocket and protect him. And then they just did like the eyes emoji, and I'm like, okay, so this is Michael, right? Or John,
right? It has to be one of them.
Francesca being my fave, me not knowing which one, whatever. It's one of them because like they're alluding to like he's not safe, right? Like, but no, nope. They just played me. They me just believe into my delusion. Yeah, ridiculous.
One day we'll win.
One day, no, we're gonna get there, and I'll be begging on my knees.
I'm already begging on my knees, like, please.
Me too. Oh my god.
Gosh,
I have so many hopes for season 3 because I do think we're gonna get a lot more tension, and we're still gonna get the pivotal moments, but it'll be interesting to see where they go with Whistledown and Queen Charlotte, because if she gets unmasked at the end of the season, what's gonna happen?
Exactly. Yeah, like,
I'm so excited to see.
I know,
because the books
we'll be there. We'll be sat May 16th. They're like, okay, now we're just writing letters as the like, obviously for those who don't know, who haven't read the book, like, beginning of each chapter they'll write, like, that's where you get one of the like Lady Whistledown like columns, and so they'll write that. But then starting season 5, it's like letters that Eloise sends, or letters that the rest send their siblings. So I'm excited because I'm like ready for more Bridgerton, and I'm ready for the tension that will be Colin and Penelope, the actors. But we'll see, like, if the writers let us.
Luckily, I'm not remembering much violence from her season because, spoiler alert, Julia Quinn definitely has an issue with like violence and like questionable aggression, and I don't remember anything like that happening in season or in the book, so
I don't think so,
because we get a normal like male situation.
Yeah, I mean, Colin is just like a puppy, so it's like
yeah
not anything crazy.
Fingers crossed on that one.
Do you want to do our loves and icks quickly?
Yes. Me like with one glove on because I had to unlock my iPad.
I love that.
I'll start, I guess, because I just pulled it up. So I have a couple loves. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna start with my ick. So my ick for the week is the meme that's like, look between your keyboard for like between these two keys. Like, I'm over that meme. I can't do it.
At first I was like, LOL, but now I'm gonna have to like keep pulling up my keyboard and being like, okay, what does it say?
Yeah, we're taking it too far, and it's not funny. And it wasn't funny the first time, and now we're running with it, and it's turning into a whole issue, and I'm over it. So please, I'm begging, stop it. Let's see, how many loves do I have? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'll do 2 then. Okay, one was actually from last week that I forgot because my phone was hooked up to the camera. Katy Perry was seen at Coachella wearing a Legolas shirt, which is so iconic of her.
I love that.
Yes, because her husband Orlando Bloom played Legolas. So when I saw that, I was like, maybe I do like their marriage. Maybe I'm coming around to that.
Honestly, I saw a clip of like Orlando Bloom talking about her, and I was like, oh, this is sweet.
I did see that too, because he was talking about how they, kind of ground each other, like,
He
they're both
makes her
busy
better, or she makes him
people.
better. Yeah, that was
Yeah. So I
cute.
did see that too. So maybe I'm coming around on them. And I love that. And then my other love is, so last week I mentioned my favorite TikTok sound was, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? People are now making that into memes on Twitter and saying like the coconut tree that we all have to like learn from or whatever. Let me see if I can find one real quick because I know I retweeted one very recently. Okay, this is an example for everyone. We fall out of the coconut trees we think we deserve. Like,
yes.
I'm living for
That's
those memes.
hilarious.
Keep those coming. Keep those coming.
That's so funny. Okay, my loves. One, the Spice Girls reunion at Victoria Beckham's 50th birthday, and David Beckham giving us all the content, like him filming it, him. I was like, thank you, David. Like you are giving the people what they want. Yeah. So my second love, the Dev Patel edits that have been on my For You page and Twitter. I am obsessed. Keep them coming. Dev Patel into my phone. Like, get that for real. For it.
Yeah, Monkey Man was released on streaming. Like, you still have to pay to watch it, but that's why we're getting more edits because people are watching and downloading clips from it and stuff. So keep it up, everyone. I am also down on my knees begging for the clip of him shoving a knife into another man's throat with his teeth. If you are listening and you have an edit or a GIF or a photo or video of that moment, please send it to me.
Send it to Katie. Thank you.
Send it to @29anco. We'll post it on the account.
I love that. And then my ick is just like how much I shed and how much I have to vacuum because of it. Like it's so like daily I'm like, oh my gosh, there's more hair. And I'm over it. Like I need to stop shedding.
Yeah. But we do have a love from Adia. She has requested that we relay to the listener.
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, you are in the know generally of what is happening online, on any given day. Well, what was it? A day or two ago, news broke that Kylie and Timothy were pregnant. And Club Chalamet was struggling. Club Chalamet, for those who don't know, is a fan account for Timothy Chalamet on Twitter. And the world was crumbling for her. And she was in the 5 stages of grief. She definitely was in number 1 denial all day.
Yeah. I think she's still
Yeah. It has since come out that is not true. That those
it was like something source, and I was like, okay, who? Unless it comes from Kylie Jenner or Kris Jenner's mouth.
But Adia's love is all the memes that were coming out of the Club Chalamet like dumpster fire that was happening this week because Lord knows people were more worried about Club Chalamet than they were about the actual news that broke. So, and I second that.
Honestly, yeah. I'm like,
I was worried for her.
So crazy, the news, and I was like, doesn't seem real. But like her breakdown, her being like, that's my man. I know him. Yeah. He would never. I love that for her.
And I'm obsessed. Her denial was basically like the photo that they're releasing about this pregnancy announcement is just a manip. And it's like, that doesn't mean
they were like, it's manipulated. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, they're just using a picture to
post a story.
Get the clicks.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Just because the picture is not real doesn't mean it's not like they manipulated like a sonogram or whatever. I was like, or ultrasound. So I was like,
that was funny. Crazy. That she really was in denial this week, but the memes that came out of it were so funny. And keep it coming. We're all on Twitter till the wheels fall off at this point.
Exactly.
That's
until they kick me off. I'm there.
But thank you everyone for listening. This was our first installment of Bridgerton. Stay tuned and you will get Benedict and the last 3 books in our next episode. Our thoughts, our hopes, our dreams for their seasons.
I like that you said Benedict in the last 3 books when there are 4. You literally you said I don't care about her and we move on.
It's probably going to take up a lot of our next episodes.
For sure. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We'll see you then. Bye.